Okay, this is day 91. Eric Braverman, Haiti, and me. This is the Trello board. It's kind of a storyboard. You can tell stories vertically and horizontally. And this story kind of came over from the Where's Eric Braverman. Now that we know where he is, we're going to ask him to come to Haiti to see how the money was spent for the Clinton Foundation. So it's evolved into kind of a drain the swamp thing, going from the Clinton legacy to now the Trump legacy. And a lot of the swamp creatures are still there, so that's why the story continues. Matter of fact, it may be even more important now. So if you haven't seen the series or haven't seen the video, a good place to start is just Google Drain the Swamp and my name, George Webb, and you'll get this video. And it's a great 16-minute overview of not only my stuff, but a whole bunch of other sources and citations of just how do we get at these 650,000 emails to drain the swamp. Because if you do, it does drain the swamp. So I went all over the world, looking for different places the Clintons and kind of through Kissinger had done these topples. So the series led to Libya, it led to Syria, and it led to Haiti. And Haiti became very interesting because of you had just a lot of folks in Haiti saying, hey, we're not getting in the aid that we were promised. We're like 2% or 3%. So anyway, I started talking to people who are active. One of them was Cynthia McKinney, and I spoke again to her last night. And she's, just an incredible person, teaching in Bangladesh, the poor schools, just toured Africa as a goodwill ambassador, the stuff that you really, can be proud of. Those are the heroes, by the way. Not I'm just a stenographer. So, but anyway, this isn't. If you can go back earlier to the earlier slides, the Where's Braverman series, if you want more in depth. But the upshot is, she in Congress here challenged Rumsfeld in 2003, saying, "Hey, this one corporation, DynCorp, like dying corporation, like a corporation that specializes in making people die, DynCorp." Is engaging in sex trafficking on a wide scale. And why are we giving them government contracts? Now, that was 13 years ago, or 14 years ago now, and the situation has not changed. As a matter of fact, it's gotten worse. So one of the things I've postulated in the series is the budget deficit was in the Department of Defense was 2 trillion then. It's 6.7 trillion now, and a lot of it is going for this kind of DynCorp activities. Now, DynCorp activities is the best way to look at it is just to look at Haiti. Haiti here, there's all sorts of things going on. There's microfinancing, which is kind of like using a cell phone to get loans. Sounds like a great idea, but these people are going into debt, some so much that they are getting their kidneys removed to pay for debt. They're doing drug trials. This is PPD. Coming down here, they're also doing these mass migrations for some reason. There's body bags being located. So a lot of the signs of symbols. And DynCorp, based in the CIA headquarters here in Denver, just has a lot of history in this kind of training of police forces to set up basic sex trafficking rings. So the story, this as far as Trello goes, people come in and add ideas, and I research the ideas. Other people can take other people's starter ideas and then add, or just add visuals. So that's kind of how it goes. This is the VCS Mining Company, which is gold. And one of the things I learned through DynCorp is they train the local police forces to extract forced labor. I'm talking about mining at the edge, at the point of an AK-47 to get slave labor. It's just that it is. And if people don't want to work, they go to the hospital and get their organs removed. I mean, that's happened in the Congo. It's happened in Sudan. It's happened now, I believe, in Haiti. All DynCorp. So Syria and Libya as well. So that's kind of the Haiti story. Now we move over here to DynCorp in Syria. We've got the white helmets in Syria in the series you'll see. And I don't want to say these organizations aren't great. The George Clooney's of the world are promoting them. 95% of the folks there are fantastic volunteers. It's the 5% that come in at night at 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. that are the cleanup crew, supposedly, and they're the ones doing this stuff. They're rib spreading, taking the hearts, they're taking the cute kids out of the orphanages because these kids are disappearing. 15,000 organs disappeared here in Syria, and I've got videos of DynCorp body bags and, hearts being taken out. So there's also, this kind of slippery slope that we talk about is, with the use of sarin gas to clear these oil fields. A lot of journalists have died reporting on the use of sarin gas to clear the way. Now, I'm going to say, on evidence we've got on Aleppo, for instance, that the children were trafficked out of there to, I believe, to either Turkish Cyprus near Nicosia, the capital. And I believe there's a kind of a showplace market there and also on the island of Malta. So we'll be looking for that. A rat line, we call those when there's an underground railroad that's taking children out. Again, in our studies, we found the same players over and over again, these oil contractors, the construction companies, the Consolidated Construction, that's their symbol right there. This other company, which is an oil architecture company, Petrofac. So what I try to do is show that all these things are really one thing. They all meet in one room at the Council of Foreign Relations. This is Steve Feinberg, who's Trump's main advisor. They all meet there and they plan these things all out as one thing. We're going to take over the country using General Grange and Osprey Global. That's the Sid Blumenthal company. We're going to build the pipe. We're going to design the pipeline with Petrofac. We're going to build it with CCC. We're going to police the pipeline with DynCorp, and all one thing. And in the series, I show that how if you know about the oil in a situation, you can predict everything that I just said. You can predict who's going to. You can predict where the sex trafficking is going to be, where the organ harvesting is going to be. DynCorp is going to do it, and it's going to be around the pipelines. It's almost foolproof in identifying the modus operandi. And you can even predict financial events. Here's Genie Energy, which is owned by James Woolsey of the CIA. It's also owned by Larry Summers, the Fed chairman, Rothschild, and Dick Cheney. And it's for this area in the Golan Heights area between Israel and Syria. Okay? So if you know that, and you know these players, you know that there's a Council of Foreign Relations meeting coming up for Genie Energy to determine when we're going to topple Assad. And you can predict it. And they literally spun the company out the day, or I think the day before the invasion began. They spun the Genie Energy out of IDT. So it really helps to understand everything as one. The financial events, how oil is connected to arms, which is connected to trafficking and sex and organ harvesting. It's all one thing. So, in the series, what we do is try to take that kind of analysis, that holistic analysis. Here's we connect the Council on Foreign Relations to DynCorp. They're a block away, or less than a block away, 2-minute walk, right around the corner actually. And we connect it to some of the things that the Pizzagate folks are looking into, this macabre artwork and so forth of organ harvesting. And we connect it to the emails that Podesta wrote, which is basically, I don't want to say shopping organs, but it seems like they're shopping organs and paying and getting campaign contributions for shopping those organs. Now, this might challenge my coordination here. We have a presentation which is heavily sourced with lots of citations, but then there's also, we want to create awareness for the authors who've written on all these subjects. Trafficking here by Conchita Sarnoff. They just go on and on. Now, a lot of times the trafficking won't drill all the way down to DynCorp, and they don't understand where it's coming from. But in our investigations, that's what we're going to try to do. And we're going to try to work with these authors to drill down, to do the complex Google searches, which is basically just using the AND operator to connect DynCorp to these things, because this is happening on a massive scale. I don't know if you saw, but I mean, there was a recent UN, Compass is his name, he quit because he said, look, this is the UN, using UN troops to do this in these peacekeeping areas, to do this child trafficking and the organ harvesting has gotten out of hand completely. You've got leaders like David Cameron saying this the UK has suffered sex abuse on an industrial scale. That's the point I want to make here. Is this isn't a onesie twosie small gang over in one part of a remote part of a country. This is being run out of the capitals in a major way. So I also take DynCorp and I look at their roots in the U.S. I look at their operations headquarters in Denver. I look at mysterious disappearances and deaths. So in this story, I also look at something called brownstone operations, which are these places where you get a little kit. A CIA agent gets a kit like this sent to him, and let's say he goes to Colombia. They put him on a fishing boat. They give him $10,000, and they show how by running these operations where you get these girls and you get powerful officials and film them with sex, you can start extorting money from them right away. And then with your extorted money, you can start other operations. So it's kind of like the starter kit for taking over a country is these brownstone operations. And the CIA guys are, these young CIA guys that are, posing as lacrosse people on scholarship or whatever. There's a lot of different covers. Mostly athletic teams are the cover for that. Then, it's kind of fun to go into DynCorp into Europe and NATO, because all this stuff got its start in NATO. This is Kosovo, where there was a book written about sex trafficking in Kosovo. There's Afghanistan scandals, lots of movies and books. So we want to give those authors a lot of credit. Here I mentioned before, the evidence just piles up, as far as the modus operandi. Nigeria was the same way with Boko Haram. They did the same thing in Congo. They did the same thing in Rwanda. They did the same thing in Sudan. So it's just basically divide the country, create a buffer zone with the UN people, and that buffer zone is the trafficked area. Same thing's going to happen. Same thing is happening in Haiti, the center of Haiti. So we're going to move to Latin America, and you're going to find this kind of, I hate to use the phrase orgy of evidence, but Latin America is going to be Carlos Slim. You're going to see that Fast and Furious, that operation, was actually to clear out the rest of the cartels and create a monopoly for Sinaloa cartel. The current thing that you're seeing in New York is kind of a window dressing for who's the DA in Southern District of New York. It's all a part of the same thing. The sex trafficking is just a piece, and they always want to cordon that off and just say, "Oh, this is just a piece." No, it's all one thing. The sex trafficking, the drugs, the gun running, and the oil, all is one thing. It should be a word for that. I'll come up with something. Going to show how they used these blackmail operations to make sure that they get bombing campaigns. The bombing campaign in Libya is very similar to the bombing campaign, in Bosnia and Kosovo, etc. Mysterious plane crashes. Here's, every time we have investigators who are hot on the tail of this stuff, their planes end up crashing. So we're going to look at that. Of course, we're going to follow the 650,000 emails. I have citations to those. We're really looking at who are the people in the State Department that use that Gmail. This isn't a Hillary witch hunt, by the way. This is a desire to bring back our oversight and our democracy and our balance of powers, our checks and balances. So, and every time somebody sends me a link and I do 5 minutes of research, it's the same story over again. Somebody sent me, Diane Barton, I think, sent me, who's a wonderful researcher, links on Cyprus, and immediately I saw cut it in half, and then in the buffer zone, do your sex trafficking. It's just this repeating pattern over and over and over. South Vietnam, North Vietnam's the same thing. Shoeshine boys, there's going to be a shoeshine boy equivalent in every country. Well, here's a good example. Here's Afghanistan. There's the Afghanistan Scouts. And again, 95% of these organizations are great. There's the CIA guy. There's a local guy who really cares about kids. He's getting them off the street. This is the shoeshine boys in Vietnam all over again. There's always one guy in the back, and there's always one kid that gets picked off, when everybody's not looking. So the people come, contribute. You just add a card. Just hit this button where you say add a card, and you can, type that, and you just add cards vertically if you would. I'll manage the making things more graphic and more visually communicative, I guess. But come to the site here. I'll still probably do the other presentations, but this format seems so much easier for the contributors, and I'm really not going for subscribers. I'm going for contributors. So that's all I'll say today. That was a pretty long one. And thank you again for all the contributors.